Well, this video started with me falling flat on my ass, so I feel like that's a good representation of where it's going to go. Cheers, everyone. I can't find the rest of my nails. I do not care. It is 1:32 a.m. on Saturday, the 21st of October, but in LA time, it is technically still Bela Lugosi's birthday. So, happy birthday, you rotted creature. Shall we get into it? So guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my video. I've removed, I think, all the videos on my channel because I hate them. And I hope that this is a new era in better video making. I was too impatient, so I couldn't be bothered actually organizing this room. So I put a green screen behind me. Either the rest of this video will be me in front of a very obvious green cloth, or I will have figured out a way to make it look decent in post-editing. And there'll be some chaotic background behind me instead. Welcome to all of Bela Lugosi's films ranked. Wrong. We aren't really doing that. Basically, I have done this before on Letterboxd, and I realized that if you're ranking films, which are a big grand production featuring, you know, other actors, features such as cinematography and a decent plot, you're gonna get films that are brilliant, but that Bela has zero to no screen time in, or isn't very good in. So we aren't really ranking the films per se. We are ranking the performance. But performance is too many letters for a YouTube video title. So if you feel misled, click away. If you want to stay, I will put a ranking of what I actually think the quality of the films themselves are at the very end. But at this point, we are ranking every single Bela Lugosi performance in a film that is available and in a film, because I'm not sitting through a serial that was filmed in the space of what, a week? In the case of, what is it, Phantom Creeps? No, not Phantom Creeps. SOS Coast Guard? Or Shadow of Chinatown. That's the one that was filmed, like, in a week. I'm not doing it to myself. I don't really see... Serials are really interesting. And they're quite hard to judge performance-wise, because they're just... Serials are such a bizarre format. Very few of them actually succeed, I think, at what they're trying to do. At least when they're watched in a modern context of back to back to back, when it's sort of like you've wasted 15 minutes of episode recapping and then setting up the next part of the next episode. But I digress. So we are sort of focusing on basically the main Bela Lugosi performances in feature films that are accessible to me, or just accessible in general, seeing as a lot of his early German work was lost. Who is Bela Lugosi, you ask? Why are you on this video? If you don't know, this must be a very bizarre thing that you find, but I am not going to judge. Bela Lugosi, if you don't know, is a Hungarian actor who is most famous for portraying Count Dracula. I was thinking about this earlier. So I was driving a very long-winded route home because I gave someone a lift. And there's a chiropractor, and they used to have like a poster of Elsa from Frozen for reasons I don't remember, like maybe like Frozen back or something. But they said something like, you know, blah blah blah, count on us, you know, to fix your back problems. And it had a photo of Count von Count, and I literally was like, I've shut up. Like whatever I was thinking, whatever I was singing along to, whatever I was doing, a moment of silence, because of all the days to see that in the wild. You know what I mean? Like, Count von Count is the perfect example of Bela's legacy and Bela's significance, because although Bela doesn't actually talk like that as Dracula, the popular mannerisms like "I want to drink your blood," and all that shite comes from Dracula, comes from Bela, from his very unique accent and delivery. And I genuinely don't think, except for like John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe, and maybe like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, And maybe Katharine Hepburn and Audrey Hepburn, and maybe Bogey. But, like, aside from them, there is no one that has made such a singular and, like, continuous, very serious impact on pop culture across the world as Bela through one role, which is kind of mad. Because, like, Bogart, I guess, I don't know, like, I'm sure that many people haven't seen loads of Bogart films, but, like, he's played, and I mean, I think Bogart is a great actor, but he's played, like, similar types over and over and over again with almost the same, like similar dialogue due to working with similar writers and, you know, Chandler screenplays, or not Chandler screenplays, Chandler stories are always going to have a certain way of talking and dialogue, and I think that's what, like, people associate him with. So, but, like, that's multiple things. And same with Katharine Hepburn, same with Bette Davis, like, and Joan. It's multiple, like, portrayals of similar characters that allowed them to, like, get that persona in popular culture. Bela did it with one thing. I'm just saying, he just did it once, and that one time was so iconic. We have Count Chocula cereal. You know what I mean? Béla Lugosi was a Hungarian actor born in Lugos, which is now in Romania. I have been there. It has some, like, bizarre magic about it, despite being quite clearly extremely impoverished. I got very cool cigarettes in the shop there. I think they were like Lilac Vogue. Anyway, his real name is Bela Blasco. He took his stage name from his hometown. He moved to Germany and made a few films after doing stage work in Budapest. It's very hard to kind of find evidence, but he seemed to be one of the major actors with, I think, the National Theatre. I'm not sure. Then he went to Germany, then he went to America, and that's where the majority of his working life, I think, as we know it, played out. And he became a naturalized American citizen in the 30s. A lot of stuff's talked about how Bela did not know English. That is not true. Quite obviously by watching his films, but his fourth wife testified to that. Several other people testified to that. There is the thing that he learned his lines phonetically for the Red Poppy, but I think once that was over, you couldn't possibly... I know he spent a lot of time with Hungarians, but you couldn't possibly spend so much time in New York talking to different people, working in different areas, and then, you know, moving to LA, doing different things. You would have to have some pretty coherent knowledge of English. And to pass the citizenship test... yeah. I know he's a naturalized citizen, but I'm sure there was still some stuff like that involved. Anyway, I would love to make a video at another time where I unpack myths about Bela. Let me know if you are interested in that kind of thing, but I will try my best to restrain myself and move on with the video. So Bela's big break came on stage playing Dracula. He apparently used to hypnotize himself in the mirror, just stare into the mirror for hours on end, and kept saying, "I am Count Dracula." And yeah, there was a lot of positive reception. It's a good play that takes the novel and makes it very accessible. He brings something completely otherworldly to Dracula. And although he wasn't like the first choice, Todd Browning apparently wanted Lon Chaney Sr., who passed away before he could do it, to do the filmic role. Bela was obviously the best choice for the job. And that propelled him and Universal Studios into stardom and success. After that, it was very up and down. Now, bear in mind, at this point, Bela is already 49. You know, he had lots of success, but this is real mainstream success. And then, almost within 3 years, less than 3 years, if you're being really pedantic, it's snatched away. And for the rest of his life, it's dangled kind of in front of him at different times. There's lots of other things going on in the industry, like the horror genre basically got boycott after his film The Raven in 1935 because the British censors were so opposed to it. From 1936 they banned horror films. So, you know, that's a big blow. Stereotyping, in my honest opinion, xenophobia, and various factors meant that Bela couldn't get, like, work or at least good work. And then he had a brief revival at the end of the 1930s with Son of Frankenstein and Ninochka. I would argue in some ways that in the 40s the revival continued. He made 9 pictures with Monogram Studios, which were very low budget B movies. And in the words of the producer Sam Katzman, the horror movies that Bela starred in were moron pictures. But it gave Bela a leading role in films that were widely seen. But the mid-40s, and he also was on Broadway, or off-Broadway. I'm really bad with theatre terms. In Arsenic and Old Lace, playing Jonathan Brewster, who I know in the film and in the original stage play with Boris Karloff, the line is, "He made me look like Boris Karloff," but easily switched to "He made me look like Bela Lugosi." And to a lot of critics, Bela's performance equaled, if not surpassed, Boris's. Unfortunately, we have no recorded evidence of this. But yeah, things got bad for Bela, and then the final act of his career was, of course, the notorious Ed Wood. I think Ed is a very underrated filmmaker, actually, to be quite honest. I think a lot of people jump on the bandwagon of this film was supposed to be silly, so we're going to pick apart every single piece of dialogue, every single bit of set. And yes, there's a lot of cracks visible, but it doesn't mean that the whole product is not good. You know, a bust-up cake, as long as it hasn't been dropped on the floor, is still a nice cake. You know? So, but I am not going to get into too much of those details. I would love to, like I say, at another time. But I'm just giving you an overview to contextualize in some way this man's crazy career. How do I phrase this? By today's standards, Bela is problematic. I cannot get into this because I'm not part of the communities affected. Bela did yellowface. Bela did redface. Bela maybe married a 16-year-old when he was 30. I don't know what to say about those things, to be quite honest. I don't think they were accepted, but they are not acceptable. I would look at the overall body of work, and I would look at Bela's personal inclinations, and I would come to the conclusion that he was not, as we would define, racist, and he was not, as we would define, bigoted. I genuinely do not think he would have ever considered the ramifications of accepting or declining those roles. I think it was as simple as, I need money to survive. I completely understand if people look at those aspects of Bela's filmography in life and they don't want to dive into them. They don't want to dive into any of his films as a whole. And I also, as much as I like to think I am, you know, the man is dead. He's not profiting off this. I'm just a fan of his bizarre persona. But I understand that if people think something about me because the fact that I enjoy that persona, which has been involved in these things, then that's okay too. I have to accept that. Moving on to the meat of the project. Let's rank these films, and you're going to be horrified, you're going to be confused and disgusted, and you're going to be surprised. Are we ready to go? I think we're ready to go. Okay, so my logic behind this ranking was I started with Renegades because I had never seen that before, and I wasn't exactly excited, but I thought Myrna Loy looked cool. You know, Bela's got a role, like, it's interesting. He's manhandling women, which I love to see. So, you know, let's see where it goes. It goes into... So, basically everything from that point on was ranked, is it better or worse than Renegades? So starting us off with number 63, I feel like I watched more. No, I definitely did. Am I delusional? Oh yeah, I was trying to decide where I'm putting Dracula. Starting off at number 64. Don't worry. There actually is one thing worse than Renegades, and that is red-faced Bela in The Deer Slayer, which has a German name that I will put down there somewhere. It is criminally dull. It is plainly offensive. And Bela is so browned up. In my commentary, as I watched it, some of the highlights include... Oh, sweetheart, please. Some of my highlights include the piano soundtrack is going to do my head in. It reminded me of Necromantic. Absolutely not. Now I Die. Fave intertitle of all time challenge. Bro just be standing shirtless. Where is the nipple? Maybe he loved me too heap big. Ugh. Not this. Bro gay for Chinajgook core. This is madness. The Bela and Boris both were in Mohican films in the same year, and they played a similar role. Yep. Not the self slur. Saw a nipple. Yo. What? He's not even going to marry her. He's just going to leave her to be unhappy. What a move. Yeah. Yeah. Don't ever watch that film. It's horrendous. It is so racist in almost every line of dialogue, and I don't even know how they have time while they're setting up the stupid romantic subplot, but they're vile. Number 63. Ghosts on the Loose. Someone on my Letterboxd reviewed this recently, and I was like, yeah, it's awful. I could not finish watching it. I've seen it once before in my life. I did not understand what was going on. Once again, I didn't care. And it's funny because there's another film that's very similar on this list, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I don't know what happened here that's so grim. The plot is so insane. It is kind of entertaining. Ava Gardner's there. She's very beautiful. You know, like the Nazis next door is kind of hilarious. And it's very memorable for the scene where Bela sneezes and he says achoo in Hungarian, which sounds like oh shit in English.
Oh shit! What's that?
We'll never know to this day. I choose to believe he said the Hungarian. I don't think he would ever do something so unprofessional, but you never know. But yeah, it's just unbearable. He's there for 2 seconds. And the rest is unbearable. Never ever watch it. And there's no good prints of it available, so it's just painful to see. Ooh. Number 62. The Black Sleep. At least Bela speaks in Renegades. Honestly, yeah. This is... I don't know if it's because I'm so biased by the behind the scenes stuff, but I think that The Black Sleep is humiliating. It's humiliating for Bela. It's just, you know, why do you have three of, in my opinion, the best horror actors, three of my favorite actors of all time, floating around like a menagerie of losers? Like, look at this guy. He got fucked up when I cut his brain open. So did this one. So did this one. And I feel like it's almost a horrendously twisted metaphor for their careers. I don't dislike The Black Sleep. I remember being so excited because you couldn't get it on DVD and I didn't understand how internet torrenting worked. I remember being so excited that you could see it on TCM and it was showing, you know, at this one time, like every month, once a month. And I watched basically all of it, like in my living room, like after school. It was so good. But it was disappointing because I think Cheney is pretty strong and Cardine's role is very fun, Bela just seems gone. And all the discussion about behind the scenes, whether or not he was high and nearly fell out the window, whether he tried to throw himself out the window, whether Lon Chaney Jr. picked him up and held him out the window. Well, there's a lot of different stories. I don't think Lon would do that personally, because Lon, despite their awkward relationship, revered Bela and wanted Bela to respect him, even if Bela did not like him. But yeah, it's a sad movie, and I think it's a sad swan song. And it's just unnecessary, you know. But it is what it is. Okay, at 61 is actually Renegades. That is misogynistic and awful. Myrna Loy is very good. I do not care for the leading man. Warner Baxter? Who cares? Is that even his name? Who cares? Bela is very, very good. And I think that's one of those films I use as an example that he definitely does know English. He definitely does know English. But again, playing an Arab sheik, horrendous. Horrendous. And it's frustrating because although I think his character started off kind of, he's the baddie, but he can be likable, because I don't know if it's just my perspective, but I supported Myrna Loy's character and I wanted her to win. Bela goes along with her, and then of course misogyny kicks in. He's like, no woman, I cut your tongue out if you keep talking.
He's just trying to figure out a way to pull the wool over your eyes and save them.
He don't save nobody, not even himself. He don't fool me no more. I'm very glad you made me come along.
Stupid film. I could not process what was going on, and I did not care. But very closely followed. The racism really brought that down, but I also think this film is just terrible, and I don't understand how, because its ending is so potentially interesting. Number 60, which is Night Monster. What? What happened? Someone explain that movie to me, because it's the third time I've watched it, and I don't understand what happens. I don't understand what is gripping. There is a really cool bit at the start with the sleazy, like, chauffeur guy and the girl, and it feels like almost 60s, 70s, you know, bordering on true crime horror. Immaculate. And they just lose that. And then Dean Jagger. No, it's not Dean Jagger. It's that man. Nils Astor. Yeah. Pretending to be Indian, I think. And I like the old guy, but like he's like using meditative illusion transform his paralyzed legs into a wolf. I don't really understand, and I don't think you're meant to. And I think if you do, then you realize it's hokum. Bela has no role here. He's there. Faye Helm is there. She's very good, but again, criminally underused. Okay, so this is maybe simultaneously too high and too low to rank it. Plan 9. I don't feel like Plan 9 counts as a performance at all. It's not. It's footage Bela clubbed together. Or it's footage that Edward clubbed together. However, Bela sniffing the rose and putting his hand over his face, that is a proper swan song. And even if everything else is falling around apart, that moment where it shows he just can convey something bigger than himself in such small little way shows his craftsmanship. And I think it makes, it shows how much he's relatable. Like, for all the bizarreness of most of his characters, there's something very human about Bela, and I think that is why people are continuously drawn to him. So, yeah, just a shame. The rest of the film is chaotic. And this is the exact point I made at the start. Number 58, Ninochka. He is there for 5 seconds.
How can the Bolshevik cause gain respect among the Muslims if you three representatives, Bulyanov, Ironov, and Kopalsky, get so drunk that they throw a carpet out of their hotel window and complain to the management that it didn't fly? Unbelievable.
He does what he needs to do. And that's it. Brilliant film. And he has a fun little line, and he advances the plot. But what is the point, you know? I actually disagree. This should be lower. But should it? No, it shouldn't. Because at least he's in it. At number 57, Return of the Ape Man. Woof. Woof, 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 woof. Like, put a dog barking sound effect here, because what? I enjoyed it for John Carradine playing Moonlight Sonata, looking handsome, and I'm like, yes, put that into my VR reality right now. But what? So bad. Béla and him are so bizarrely gay, and then that just gets dropped. Béla is unforgivably stupid. Like, I know some of his scientists are crazy and they do things that don't help their best interest, but this is a whole other level of just, what did you think was going to happen?
Oh, I know you're insane. 8 men after I finished with him no longer have the primitive instinct to kill. He'll be a righteous citizen, just like you are. You know why? Because part of your brain, righteous part, will be in him. I know there's no use pleading with you, Dexter. I've only this to say. If someone has to be the victim of your madness, then I'm glad it's me, not Steve or some other innocent person. Because I feel partly responsible for this whole mess. Spoken like a true scientist.
Like, what did you think was going to happen? It's awful. I will say I like the way his hair is. I'm fascinated by it. And the ape man himself looks horrendous. So guys, fun fact, I also forgot to rank the gorilla, which I think speaks volumes as to the quality of the gorilla. Don't get it, don't find it funny, don't really think Béla has much to do, but I am glad that it kind of bizarre twist. I think he's the hero. I think he was like a secret inspector and like the real deal from the start. Is he supposed to be who the brothers were? I don't even know. But he gets to kind of hold the gun and be, you know, Agent Cooper. So there we go. I know there are other FBI agents that are not Agent Dale Cooper, but we're just going to keep going with that reference. Okay, next film is number 56, Such Men Are Dangerous. I describe this as literally the incel's fantasy, and I don't necessarily disagree, though I would argue it's hard to tell if the plot is pointing out the flaws of misogynistic men or catering to the misogynistic man's fantasy and giving him, or the misogynistic man's nightmare and giving him an out. Hard to say. I don't like the lead. Béla is very good, and I think it's sort of, it's a nice expositionary dialogue bit, and I think he does really well. I think he actually does really well. He's so convincing as someone that's warm and like good-hearted. And I do think that like he was trying to put on a German accent. He speaks German at one point, and I'm like, you know, his accent, if you really listen, does vary slightly. I mean, my voice right now sounds completely different to the way I talk in real life, so fair enough. But I do sometimes wonder if he's trying to, like, his Dracula voice is quite different from, say, Murder Legendre or even Vetus, and then this. So I do wonder if sometimes he's trying to do an accent and it just feels horribly to the uncultured ear. 55, The Midnight Girl. So this is one of those silent films. I got it and Daughter of the Night completely mixed up, and I thought they were the same film. This is where he portrays a kind of sleazy, like, opera guy called Harmon. And he's very good. Like, he's very good at being creepy and intense, and, like, the wannabe rape scene is genuinely horrendous. But The ending was so bad. The ending where it was, if there was a genre of R word apologia films, this would be the prototype. Like, you shot my ex-girlfriend who was spying on me through the curtain while I tried to R word you. And now she's dying. I've realized maybe I should stay with her instead of trying to sexually assault random girls. Make it make sense. Happily ever after for a predator. And it is a bit one note, let's be honest. You can't really do much with a role like that. 54 is Oh for a Man with Jeanette MacDonald. Low-key, I was so surprised. I really enjoyed this film. Bela's character seems lovely. Again, he is pretty, like, he's fluent in English. He seems very natural, very cool at what he's supposed to be doing. He's very likable, and I really like seeing him in roles like this that push the boundary. Unfortunately, he's only in it for minutes, so I couldn't justify putting it any higher, even if I have very positive feelings towards it. I feel like I'm gonna have to put Mysterious Mr. Wong here, but honestly, I don't want to justify putting it this low. I just like it. The thing with it is a fantastic performance. The problem is the performance should not have happened. I will say though, he is exceptionally brutal and smart and convincing at it. And it's kind of hard to believe that he would actually like allow for the oversights that allow the heroes to survive. Wallace Ford is in a lot of these random things. There's cute moments with him and his female partner. Don't really understand some of them. And yeah, there's like the implication, she isn't it? Yeah, it's this one that she's just like going to become a housewife now. To get married, nah, you have no career anymore. No, it's not this one. It's not this one. Never mind. It might be. There might be more than one instance of misogyny against women. Believe it or not, in the 1930s and 40s. I know. But yeah, I just find his character stupid and ignorant. Not good. So. Ooh. Now we're gonna hit my first bit of controversy. The Body Snatcher. So I was reading Manx, Karloff, or Lugosi and Karloff, The Story of a Haunting Collaboration. And he says, like, you know, he talks this up and how a lot of people talk this up and how, like, important the scene is. And I'm like, no. His performance is exactly what you expect someone who is strung out, extremely stressed and nervous and in utter heartbreak that their wife has left them would look like. That's what you think that performance would look like. It's basically what it is. I don't understand why they cast him in that role. I don't understand why he was not in the role, because he's spiritually and emotionally not there. He does something different, which is very worthwhile and important to include. I just don't understand. Maybe I didn't. I've seen The Body Snatcher a few times and now I'm like, maybe I've gotten so accustomed to it, I've like forgotten what the point was on rewatch, but I just was like, why is his character stupid for no reason and then dead? I'm gonna have to put Mysterious Mr. Wong in here because the spirit of Bela fell off. He's angry with me. What have I done? What did I do wrong? Do you think The Body Snatcher was your best performance? Because King, you're so good. You could do better. You could do better. Anyway, this is chaotic. So I actually think I've ranked it a lot higher than the average fan. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Look, and I'll tell you for why. The fact that there's any performance going on here at all is a testimony to Bela. His roars, peak. I actually think the makeup on him looks far better than it does in Glenn Strange. and better than Chaney Jr. in some ways, because Chaney's face was too like sunk into it. The fact that they cut his lines is evil. The fact that they cut any expositionary dialogue, evil. And this is what I mean, is like they wanted him to fail. Like they didn't, but it's very hard to look back and truly believe that they didn't realize the damage they were doing with this. I've seen part of the shooting script. The lines were shit in some ways, but they would have, you know, I like Igor. And to see him live in the monster and become part of the monster and make it make sense would have been good. Would have been good. But I think Béla shows stuff of egoisms and evil in the monster that people weren't used to and they didn't like seeing in the monster. And then, of course, they didn't know why it was in the monster because they didn't get the whole scene that explained it if they hadn't seen Ghost of Frankenstein for years. But yeah, I actually don't think it's that bad. Obviously, a lot of it's stuntman. He's probably on screen for 3 minutes. But I think there's something very important that he did do Frankenstein's monster. And I don't think he did as bad a job as people say. Now we're caught. Now we're caught. Number 50. I don't know why I had this higher on this list than this other film. Murder by Television. What's going on? Once again, what is going on? Béla gets to be young and charming and smart. Great. You know, it is very nice to see. There's a very odd moment where it suggests that there's going to be some romance with a woman and it just never ever happens again.
It is nice out here tonight, isn't it?
Lovely.
But dog film again. Dog, randomly racist. I mean, I love Hattie McDaniel, I love seeing her, but I'm just like, what? Could you stop making her do this? Do you know what I mean? Stupid. However, it is kind of iconic seeing Béla play a dual role and be a good guy. Like Agent Dale Cooper, whom Béla was there first. And the way he smokes a cigarette at the end is like he is being held at gunpoint and the tobacco is mixed with shit. Fascinating study. Because if you didn't know, Béla smoked cigars. And while I've seen him smoke cigarettes in films before, it's quite obvious it's not really like what he likes. So it's very interesting watching him struggle. The Death Kiss. So I originally ranked this lower than Murder by Television, and then I thought about it and was like, look, this is where I'm saying performance does matter. I just feel like I hate Murder by Television so much I cannot even justify the performance, and the performance in it is sort of like whatever. Like it's good, but it sort of also still feels a bit stagey. Whereas The Death Kiss, I feel like Béla, even though he has a tiny role, he just feels like he's supposed to be there. And I really like whenever he has those moments. He's natural. He's not really responded massively to anything. He gets to look angry while puffing a cigar. I think it's good, and I think it's quite an underrated film.
He couldn't have told everything he knew before he died.
I only know that it is planted in a graveyard, and I am not afraid of anyone else.
I don't know how people feel about his role in this. I know that people have made quite derogatory comments based on his appearance. Would say he's miscast, and I would agree. But I am not responsible for crying to the studio that I don't want to do a role and then forcing other people to swap around so that Béla gets the short stick. Okay, so I don't really think. The more I've read about it, I don't think Boris Karloff was trying to sabotage Béla, but man needed to get his stage fright in control, because why on earth would you... No, I'm glad he did, because the guy that plays the transformation, is it Stanley Ridges? He is the best you can imagine in the main role. But because Boris didn't want to do it, that meant he got to do Dr. Sovax or Kovacs, whatever he's called. And then Bela ended up with the random gangster, which is not really Bela's forte. And you see him struggle, you see him kind of not care, you see him try and be heavy, try and be intimidating. The people he has around him just do not match him. And it just is kind of like, oh. Yeah, okay. And then, next scene. But I still think, whether or not the hypnosis was real, which I don't think it was, as Lillian quite bluntly said, Bela would not have gotten under real hypnosis because he was worried that they would hypnotize him into quitting drink. Yeah, the lovely moments of extreme alcoholism and drug addiction that we're not talking about today. But yes, Black Friday, the scene where Marnie suffocates in the closet. Well, he's in the hidey hole and he's like being blocked in there.
Let me out! I tell you where the money is! I hid it! I hid it! It's in the oven, Red! It's in the oven! Let me out! I tell you where the money is! It's in the oven! Let me out! Let me out!
I think it's one of my favorite Bela scenes. It is infuriating that they didn't shoot it better, that you can see his face, but you can hear his voice. And if people think, like, this is where I'm begging people to really listen to what he's saying, because it is nuanced, it is different, it is haunting, it is real. You know? And it frustrates me that they can't even acknowledge that the fact that in even a 10 second scene he can make that much impact, that it is getting me stressed. Very few people today or then could say the same. This feels like, I think I've like forgotten just like how bad some of the other ones are, because this seems like too high, but we still got a long way to go. Scared to death. You guys, like the excitement when I finally heard there was a Technicolor Bela Lugosi film, and it's that. Like, I still can't tell what color his eyes are because it's so muddy, and his eyes are so small in it, and poorly lit and poorly shot. Mess of a film. Kind of interesting conceptually, and I quite like the like female lead who's an anti-hero, and the stakes are like very high for a 1946 potboiler. But I just think that Bela doesn't really have much to do. You know, he has cool moments and moments where he gets to do his thing, but you know, he just kind of looks the part with the cape. Doesn't really get any dynamic scenes, or is playing off terrible actors. He, obviously, Angelo Rosito is in there as well. And again, he doesn't really do anything. So you don't even get the interesting parts of their dynamic together. So I don't really think you need to watch it, unless you're very curious to see a 60-something-year-old man in Technicolor for the first time. 46. I nearly said 64, and that would also be valid. Because anything around this range, to be quite honest, I don't know. Like, I've obviously made my exceptions clear, but most of them flush down the toilet. And then double flush for good measure. Zombies on Broadway. So this was quite easy to watch, and then it became boring. And then I was just sort of like, this is unforgivable. At times with the racism. There's funny moments, but it's just, it feels kind of joyless, you know. I very much enjoyed the little marmoset monkey that smacks Bella's head. I thought that scene with like the drawers coming in and out was very entertaining. And when she walks like a zombie to the boat. But Bella's just doing Bela things, and it's kind of like his character isn't fleshed out very well. He's there. Some hijinks happen to him, and now we're somewhere else. You know, it felt like a nothing role. which is sad because he can really thrive in those roles when given the right environment. Daughter of the Night. So this isn't great. I feel like there's more to this film that like doesn't survive. Bela's character is just a very like light-hearted romantic lead who is infatuated with this woman and wants to help her and is like embroiled in the cause. So he's a hopeless young idealist and he plays it very well. It's obviously harder to tell with the style of acting in silent films, but I think he's good. He's young, he's handsome. It's very interesting to see what he does with a role like this. And to just be sincerely enamored is extremely cute. And I think it is worth seeing. I think the plot can be interesting, even if it becomes kind of bizarre because they're claiming they're part of like a third magic party in Russia that doesn't support the czars but doesn't support communism. Like, historical evidence, were you significant? Like, I find it hard to believe that these people are willing to throw their lives away over a movement that has like 15 people in it, but because they refuse to actually give any historical realism, the movement must have only had 15 people in it because there's nothing mainstream that existed like that, to the best of my knowledge and research. The best man wins. I actually love this film. I think it's really interesting. Edmund Lowe. I do, put a mirror outside my house to ward him off because I'm hoping he catches a sight of his reflection and is like, better not go near that. Unfortunately, movie audiences were fascinated by him. Society's obsession with Edmund Lowe needs to be studied. But he is actually good in this. So, yeah, there's a lot of plot. I'm not going to get into it, but he has a very cool role, and it's kind of complex, and I think it's kind of edgy for its time in its way. Bela's character is so fun. He's a Pisces, son of the sea. He keeps fish to hide his pearls. Just a fun, chaotic character. I think he is kind of putting an accent on for this, and that's so funny because you can't even really tell. And yeah, he just gets to be a goof. In it very little, but I still think there's a fun to be had in the parts that he does have. And again, he seems to enjoy selling this dialogue of this person that's completely wacky. So, yeah, I would recommend it. I would not recommend this next film. Well, I recommend it with a caveat. Night of Terror. Some people have said it is like the prototype slasher movie. I can see where they're coming from, and there's some very creative cinematography. There's creative sort of traps. Well, not traps, but like there's a creative getaway place. There is a very interesting fourth wall break at the end. And, suspense. I also appreciate that Bela's character seems to have dope-filled, or opium-filled cigarettes that he just gives to people and then they pass out and he's like, shouldn't have smoked it, with his face. He's clearly playing Indian or some Eastern mystic, which is wrong. Goes without saying. And yeah, I do think it takes away something from me, but I will say his makeup is very good. He dominates the screen. He moves very elegantly in the outfit they have for him. And yeah, I would say that he shows his screen presence and his command, that even if he's not the main character, he's the only one that you're kind of waiting to see what he's doing next, because he seems to be making the plot more interesting. So I'll give him that. Again, do not watch this. The Silent Command, with everybody's favourite pin-up hero, Edmund Lowe, looking uglier than ever. And honestly, I was so confused because I knew what the twist to this was. I'd forgotten, and then when I was watching it, I kind of figured it out, and then was like, I googled it, and I was like, that is the twist. But is there anything in the film that lets you know that that's the twist until very near the end? Because that's insane. Because the only reason it works is if you're thinking, this poor honorable American, he cares so much about his country that he's willing to sacrifice his marriage and his family for it. Whereas if you don't know that he's doing all this to further like his means, then you just think he's some like insane loser that is stupid to get sucked into a honeypot and embarrasses his wife and family. So I don't really know. I don't really know, because I'm just kind of like watching it like, this man is unlikable. And even when, like, if you watch it again and you know he's doing the right thing, it just doesn't come across like you're supposed to be in the know. Bizarre. But Béla has a lot to do. He is giving you evils. He's giving you shock, surprise, disgust, fear, close up on teeth and messy hair. He is great in this, and I think it's really surprising that not more, big roles followed from this, because I think this is a cool, and especially for the time period, it's a standout way of being a villain. Not just because he's so good looking at this point in his life. So I don't know if this really counts. This is a film made from episodes of a serial, in this case, Return of Chandu. I have watched The Return of Chandu, and I didn't really know what to make of it. I don't think it's really good. I don't know if Béla is the best cast. There is, in that book I was talking about earlier, someone wrote that he was still like lithe and agile and like slinky. And not to body shame, I don't think he is. And that's fine. And I love Béla in this era and I love him like that, but I don't think I think he looks like he's struggling. And I don't even know if he is, but it looks like he's heavy, and it looks like he is sweaty, and although you don't need Chandu to be physical, I think there's an element you don't believe his power because he physically looks so not conventional. However, in the scene near the end where he destroys the temple and saves the princess,
Coming to Black Heart, I call upon thy power. I say unto the Black Heart of Lemuria, thou hast no power.
This man knew magic. Like, this man in real life knew magic. You can't tell me different. I was 110. There's no one else I would rather cast on a film to convincingly cast a spell. Béla just is that person that you believe knows it and will, really in real life put that curse or that blessing on you. And I really admire him because even in this Drek, he is able to convey this dignity and persona and power that I think a lot of actors will never achieve and would have lost if they had achieved it, if faced with circumstances like this. So, this is another scientific anomaly. It is a marvel to medical science. The Black Cat 1941 is my 40th pick. 40th rank. I think it should be lower, but at the same time, I have clearly put it there for a reason. So, again, this is problematic because Béla, I think, is tanned to be Eduardo, clearly a Spanish or Latin gardener, caretaker on the estate. I think it's a really fun role. I think he actually does splendidly. Like, he does this creepy looking around the place thing, but he brings like a real heart to it, and there is a real frustration that he is sort of struck down in his prime when he was only trying to help.
Please, don't open the door. I I wanted to take them to the barn, and now they're all out in the rain again.
I'm sorry.
Why didn't you keep your nose out of other people's business?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Gil Sondergaard. I enjoyed the kind of chaos of the rooms. I think there was a lot of stupid stuff going on. The idea that this woman would be terrorized and shoot a man dead, and then everyone goes, okay, good night, dear, and just leaves her alone in her room. Bonkers. Bonkers. Bonkers.
We're catching Abigail's murderer. There's no need to worry now, Mother. The real danger's over.
Yes, I suppose so.
Try to get some sleep.
What? Average 1940s bedtime? Oh, man's dead. Anyway, bye. I mean, I guess if we're at war, they had bigger things to worry about. Number 36 of what must now be 62 films. And that is genius at work. And that is the same guys that were in Zombie on Broadway, which is proving my point that I didn't even dislike them. I just didn't think it was a good film. Whereas this is fun. I admit that this might be recency bias because I saw it for the first time recently, and it's obviously going to wear less annoyingly than a film I've seen 700 times. But I honestly think some of the jokes were genuinely funny. I like the idea of the crime writer girl who is like so smart and everybody actually listens to her and respects her. I like Lionel Atwill, honest to God. Like, every time you see him on screen, you just know that you're in for something fierce and kind of bizarre and fun. And sometimes you feel like that with Bela. In this film, he's very much in the shadow, which is frustrating because I don't understand why they don't just unleash both of them at their full ham and go crazy. Because if you cast Bela, why wouldn't you let him go full crazy? In a comedy film, like in a low budget comedy like this, seems bizarre.
Prove it. I still don't believe it. Well, what do you know? You live and learn. Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I enjoyed his hair as well in this film.
In case Jerry might try to interfere and spoil it for you.
He's a cute little 6-year-old man. Saints Double Trouble. Again, this is interesting. So this is his second I'm a Gangster kind of film role. And I actually wouldn't find it unconvincing. I thought it was good. It's not a bad film the more I think about it. I just find George Sanders' character kind of rude. So, and then the dual doppelganger thing confused me. It didn't confuse me, but sometimes I was like, is he rude because he's evil or is he just kind of a cad? I think there's both is the answer. But there was fun to be had. And I think the scene where Bela's smoking the pipe and listening to the music, or smoking the cigar and listening to the music and falling asleep is very cute, I have to say. I am really shocked that this is as high as it is. It probably shouldn't be. Number 35. Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. It's kind of a flex to have your own name be in the title, or a sign that a studio is in extreme debt and it needs you. It is overlong and it is racist and fatphobic. However, I just knew there was something coming. If you don't want to be spoiled for this bizarre B-movie that you'll never watch, please go to a different video. But if you do want to be spoiled, stay. So it turns out like the whole thing is a dream. I usually hate that stuff, but at this moment I was like, thank God. So this racist island that you conjured up in your head doesn't exist. And yes, there is the plus size chorus girl who obviously is like the translation for the island girl in this guy's daydream. But when she kisses him, he realizes, oh, she's an amazing pull. Let's get on it.
Where's my little Tarzan? Hiya, doll!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, those two fireballs of fun, Duke Mitchell and Sandy Petrillo.
Come on, Duke. Come on, break it up.
So basically, every stereotype that was built up gets shattered into a million pieces by the film's end, which is the only way I can accept it for this point. However, I will say Bela is more alive than usual. I think in some of the early 50s, he is like really giving it his everything, because I think he realizes how important it is. But he is also just so old. I'm like, whoa. Like, why are you romancing this very young woman who obviously wouldn't go out with you? But then again, they went out with him in real life, so who am I to say?
Why do you treat me so coldly, my dear? You know I love you. I want you. Now, what is wrong? Why do you not accept my love?
Please, Doctor, must we go over that again?
Yes, we must. You shall love me.
Jerry Lee Lewis, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and this Jerry Lewis impersonator can all explode. Hateful individuals, but, you know, now the film's over, I don't have to ever think about them again, so yay. One body too many. So I have memories of this not being very good, and then I rewatched it and I really enjoyed it. So the guy that plays the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz is the lead. He's very cute. He's a little old, but he's cute. And Jean Parker, I think, is really so underrated and so enjoyable to watch, and she's a lovely foil and like partner for him. Bela doesn't have loads to do, but what he has to do is very fun, and I really like seeing it happen. So he keeps like offering people this tea, and you think it's going to be poisoned, and it's obviously not.
You haven't put out enough cups. Mr. and Mrs. Rutherford, are they to have it too? All of them.
The continuous like ominousness for no reason. Now, he does this in Monogram Pictures, and it kind of doesn't work because it just comes across like surely people would be suspicious. But in a context of this, of a comedy, and everybody is suspicious, but it's actually, the joke is that he was being innocent. He's just misunderstood. Great. And it works really well.
Such fine coffee.
Okay, number 32, I've probably been very generous with, because I just think it's an interesting combo of our faves. You'll find out with Kay Kaiser. I need to find my notes from this. I've been very good. I haven't been endlessly. I don't like Kay Kaiser. I don't like this man. I don't get this, because like, is Kay Kaiser real? But then are these actors or characters? So like, it's a random, not Boris Karloff. I think what I'm trying to explain there is I struggle sometimes in movies where, you know, the lead, like Kay Kaiser, is Kay Kaiser, but Bela Lugosi doesn't exist, and it's this guy called Prince Aliano. Do you know what I mean? It's like when one celebrity exists in universe, but the other celebrities don't, but the celebrities are there playing characters. I usually find that really annoying. So, yeah, some of the music awful. The Son of Vox effects kind of cool at times. Bela has a fun role again. Turban, no reason. I think he's having fun. I don't think it's his best visual look on film, and I don't think it's that great a performance, but it's nice to see him play off Boris and Peter. And I think he does what is written for him and asked of him very well.
Oh, you know what I mean, Prince. We have our business and you have your business.
Please, do not refer to my calling as a business.
Oh, no offense. I just meant that everybody has to stick to his own racket.
Racket? Do you dare to suggest that the practice of the occult sciences is a racket?
So it's fair enough. No way. I did not put that this low. Girl, I did not put that this low. Okay, I'm definitely going to change that off the cuff. I'm not accepting that. Number 31, The Human Monster, also known as Dark Eyes Over London. So I am shocked, because this was at some point what I thought was guaranteed to be top 20, top 10. And I rewatched it and I didn't enjoy it. I feel like Barry at Midnight, even though I used to hate that film, did what this kind of is implying much better. They are very different, but there's just too much like side plot with this detective, this American guy. No, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I hate to break it to you, but nobody cares. I certainly don't. But Béla is good. He's not in it enough. I kind of love the like fetish S&M Nazi secretary he has.
He served this in all the evening papers and opened the window.
Something very bondage at the very end as well. I'm like, I feel like this has to be intentional.
Inspector Holt,
That stupid policeman. He stood there and asked me what the tank was used for. Now, I will show you.
What you going to do?
You'll see.
He does really well in it. He's having fun. He's looking good. I just think the plot is kind of stupid. Like, why would you... These insurance scams when everybody mysteriously dies, like, it's surely you cannot get enough money out of it for it to be worth your while, because people are going to figure out, if you're the benefactor, that you're responsible. I don't know, it just seemed bizarre. It just seemed bizarre, and Jake looks bizarre and could be borderline offensive, so there you go. The 13th chair. I think this is just because it's so of its time. It's very hard to judge Béla's acting. It seemed very stilted sometimes, but I actually enjoyed him in this, and I think it proves that he wasn't just Dracula. And even around that time, yes, he may have been used to more stage-bound productions, but he wasn't just Dracula. His inspector has a real personality, really strange mannerisms, but a real, you know, suaveness and stuff.
You think so, undoubtedly. Now, with the exception of Sir Rasco and his family, I know none of you.
I think it's an interesting role. I can't really judge it. I probably need to rewatch again and again. But I think it's very interesting. And although the film itself is flawed, there is quite a lot to enjoy from it. And again, it's one of those things where I'm like, why is this plot? Like, why is this the twist? Like, it just seems stupid. But it's good. It is good. So guys, fun fact, this is the film that I said I could not rank at 32 because that was too unfair. So I'm gonna have to put it here, and yous are gonna be mad that I've put it here. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. So, but I just don't think that this is as interesting or as comedic as it could be. I also don't... To be fair, I sort of look back at the scenes of Dracula interacting with Renfield, and I'm like, okay, I could see him be like smooth and know how to interact with people. But Dracula always struck me as having something like a little bit obviously supernatural about him. Whereas he just seems kind of like too like knowledgeable about the world or something. I don't know, which is fine. But it just gives more like film noir vibes, the way he interacts with Lenore. Like, oh, don't you know you're a wanted woman? I have secrets about you. And I just don't think they play on the silly goofiness the way that they, like, when they make fun of his seriousness, like in Broad-Minded or even in Mother Riley Meets the Vampire. I just think that's more entertaining, and I feel like it could have been given a bit more oomph than what it is. It just doesn't, for me, 100% feel like his Dracula, and then it also doesn't... It plays him straight, but like too straight to be funny, in my opinion. But I still think it's a very good role, and it's very good that they got him back and gave him the respect he deserved in this role. This ranking has changed my core beliefs, I swear. Right, number 28 is The Invisible Ray. Shoot me dead. No, don't, because it would hurt. And I'm a fragile, sensitive person, and I can't find my nail. But it's okay. We're gonna survive. Yeah, Invisible Ray, right. I don't even think Binet, I don't think Béla plays him badly. I just think, what way is Binet written that could be interesting for an actor? And it could be more interesting. I just think he's wrong for it. So, I don't think he's wrong for it. I think he works well. I think there's moments where his acting style is just too heavy or cadence or something for it to work. Then there's moments where it's brilliant. I like the dynamic with Karloff in this film. I actually think it's one of their most interesting dynamics together. And I think seeing Béla be good and Karloff kind of go crazy, they're actually much better at doing those roles than I think they even know that they are. And that's part of the joy of it. And I think it's one of the best written of their collaborations.
We expected you.
I knew that. 5 thieves. 2 are gone, 3 are left.
Do you intend to kill us all?
Yes.
I felt it was better to let things alone. When you were first poisoned, I warned you about your brain.
It began to affect my brain almost immediately. I could feel it coming, crawling into the cells.
Aren't there ever moments when you think as you used to think? When you're human?
Not often now, not often.
Rook is a really fascinating villain, and the fact that this stuff is so close to like actual science, just a little bit off, it's fascinating. And Rook being kind of semi-mother issues, semi-gay coded, fascinating. Binet and his final confrontation is very good. Lugosi's death is good. Lugosi, honestly, I should rank this higher for the scene where Béla has the evidence that it's Rook, and he has like the one photographic like film like slate, and then immediately takes the slide off the thing and shatters it into a million pieces, and he just looks at it. I think about that daily. Anytime I make a mistake, anytime I drop something and break something, I just look down the floor and I'm like, yeah, of course. And number 26 is sending me to the fair. Number 27, the corpse vanishes. I am going to get crucified for putting this here and certain other performances ahead of it. But hear me out. Corpse vanishes, probably like the most iconic Monogram story. It's funny. It's very Mystery Science Theater 3000. Obviously, they did an episode on it. It's very the basis in some ways of what I think Rocky Horror combined with the Black Cat, what Rocky Horror ended up being. It's not his best performance though. Out of the Monogram pictures, it's not. You know, he has a lot of fun lines. He gets to be evil. He gets to do this. But I feel like he himself doesn't really see his character's motivations or find them entirely convincing.
Oh, Professor, do you also make a hobby of collecting coffins?
Why, yes, in a manner of speaking. I find a coffin much more comfortable than a bed.
There's a lot of scenes where he's just supposed to be evil and creepy, and I don't think the way he's shot makes it effective. You know, when he's walking into the rooms at night and stuff, I'm just like, oh, I don't know, because I'm so desensitized to the man because I see him all the time. I just see it as like, okay, there's Béla out again, like. Okay, old man, let's get your dressing gown on. Like, it's not a cause for concern. I wouldn't love to wake up with a weird man over my bed, but he doesn't give threat to me sometimes. And, you know, there's some really good moments, like the coffins, like playing the organs to his wife. I just think there's a lot within the film that loses him, which is kind of a shame because he should be the star of the film. You know? And I don't honestly think they give him a chance to give his all and relish the role he's given, especially when playing with someone like Elizabeth Russell, who is very strong, or Minerva Ursival, or is it Millicent Ursival? You know, who are just so good at that kind of thing. Maybe he wanted to sort of adapt into the middle of that, but I would love to have seen him go bigger, in my personal opinion. 26. Now, this used to be bottom of the list. This, I genuinely did believe, at a moment in my life, caused a potentially fatal brain hemorrhage or stroke. Because through my granddad, I have been exposed to Northern English humour of a certain time period. And while some of it is funny, you know, not as old as this, but John Shuttleworth, peak. And, you know, I love camp things. I love Hello Hello and different stuff, but this was just too... Ooh. And maybe now doing drag, I'm more accustomed to seeing, you know, ugly men being ugly women. But it doesn't bother me in the same way. Like, it is so silly and it's so stupid, and the little songs are terrible. And Mother Riley is annoying, but she's not that bad. I genuinely was so surprised. Because not only is it not all that bad, and like, yeah, the scenes pass, but Béla is so different. Especially after seeing so many of the 1940s films back to back, even including his reprisal as Dracula, seeing this zeal, that's the right word, that he has in this role is nuts. He looks great. The outfit he has, the black satin thing, suits him. The lines he gets. And I know people said behind the scenes it was a bit of a disaster because people are ad-libbing and he didn't understand the accents. But you would never tell. He is just sensational.
I saw you looking at that painting. Do you like bats?
Wasted on a film that's this crazy. But there is a lot of fun to be had in it. And although I think his storyline and his scenes kind of peter out into nothing at the end, which is very sad, yeah, kind of slaps. If you are confused while I'm talking about this, it is also known as My Son the Vampire and Vampire Over London. And I just want to go back in my notes because there is something so chaotic. Let's not comment on my makeup today. It was done in the webcam mirror, so I have no idea what was going on. But I think it's kind of cute. I think it's very, like, you know, Bella would get it. Quaker Oats. I don't remember this theme song. It's on the wrong frames per second. Yeah, because the theme song was from, I think, the American print, which wasn't in the British print. Yeah. This is Drag Mama. Bela Lugosi looking creepy, and I don't think it's because of the makeup, versus the old lady played by a guy. Brilliant idea there. I haven't yet found the courage to watch the entire movie. If someone does, let me know what you think. Whichever legend on Letterboxd wrote that, most me review of all time. Humphrey Bogart stan, me. Uranium, block capital letters. Bro saying Liverpool takes me out of my life. Bro teeth black, like pure black. Bella's teeth fascinate me because sometimes they look like Murdered in the Rue Morgue, and then there was something like Postal Inspector, I can't remember, mid-30s, looks fine. Why does it look grey in The Black Cat? Why does it look black in this? You know, this is understandable because he's older, but there's so many films like across the 30s where from year to year it's totally different. Like, what was going on? I know the drugs fucked him at this point, but like, what was going on? Explain. Bro got mail scammed, better call Ricardo Cortez. That is a joke for later on. My lovely little what? Did she just say clit? The union comment low-key is hilarious, and I didn't write it down, so that will, you know, be a mystery to us all. Why was he feeding her up? Is he an actual vampire, or is he just a feeder? Well, moving swiftly on. 25. Like, are we at number 25 already? Oh my god. And this is going to shock most people. It shocked me. Number 25 is Spooks Run Wild with the East Side Kids. What? Yeah. This, and I know that it is maybe the novelty bias that I hadn't seen it before. So obviously it's a fresh Bela performance, so it feels great to me. I love this. I loved this. This was crazy. Like, it's not perfect, but it was fun. Bela was fun. Bela had things to do. He had Angelo, and he gets to be nice at the end of the day.
It was a haunted house, but it's not. And if it is, he ain't haunting it because we thought he was a monster too. But like I said...
And he gets to just look so quietly amused while other people make a fool of themselves, like in front of him, and it's just so good.
I want to get out of here. I don't like this place. This place ain't...
Get out of here!
I very much enjoyed that film. I just think it's fun. It's such like a stereotypical haunted house mystery. And like, while I'm sure if I watched it again, I would see how obvious it was that certain things were coming. At the time, I was like, how are they getting out of this? Is he the murderer? That's the real murderer. Or is it the real murderer? And I was like, oh yeah, I clocked the real murderer within like 2 seconds. I just thought it was so funny that like the guy showed up at the gas station and the guy referenced a book and he was like, that book's true, King. And the guy was like, I knew it. But honestly, knowing delusional fangirls on AO3, it could work. 24. I've put this too high. And I hate saying that. But you're going to think I put it too low. And after this, you're going to hate the next one. Island of Lost Souls. Island of Lost Souls. I gotta be real with you, Chief. I do and I don't understand the hype. I do not find it as interesting a story as everyone else. I think Charles Lawton's performance, because it's a Charles Lawton performance, is one of the best of all time. I just think it's let down by the limitations of its era. It is genuinely also just so grim. I don't know. It gives me like the energy of a fatalistic horror, but it doesn't commit to it, which sends me mixed messages, which makes me unhappy. However, it is a classic for a reason. I really like the guy like who ends up helping them out in the end. He was in, is it The Wolfman or something? I really like seeing that actor around the place. Bela, I wish his makeup was better. He was kind of like an 11th hour replacement to the best of my knowledge. But I think his speech is really strong. I think the fact that he can convey emotion, again, this is kind of like I was saying at the end of Black Friday. Well, at the end of his part of Black Friday. The fact he can convey so much emotion with voice alone, shocking.
Not bees! Fart man! Fart bees!
There's a bit where his voice breaks. I haven't written down, unfortunately, when I meant, but it's really like, oh, like this man is a half animal, half human, but the pain is the same regardless of animal or human, and it's really fascinating. So I think I'm glad he is there. I just kind of wish he aesthetically looked better. Because there's other test makeups and he looks great. And I'm just like, well. There will be death threats to my house. Not that you actually give a... I don't think I'm that important and I'm going to get death threats. But when it's very easy to log in and leave a comment, I do expect a comment about this. Number 23 is a Mark of the Vampire. Guys, am I going to go as far as to say I don't get it? No, I do get it. When it's actually just a straight parody of Dracula, it's brilliant. But unfortunately, Todd Browning had to kind of make it into an actual mystery. There are so many different influences on this film, and I think it's kind of obvious. It's a mess. Like, it is a mess. Like, there's stuff hanging together, and like, yeah, this plot happens and that happens. I feel like the stakes, especially on rewatch, are not that high, and I'm just like a bit lost. I know I have ADHD, undiagnosed, and my attention span is bad, but if I can pay attention to every single part of the plot for Zombies on Broadway, but I zone out for Mark of the Vampire, like, there is something wrong. Todd Browning is slow. Like, he is slow, and I like Todd Browning, but it's true. Some of his silent ones have that problem less than his talkies, but this is kind of one of those ones. I literally just think, regardless of what you think about this film as a whole, there's a lot to admire in it. Bela's role is tiny. He's very good at being threatening. I like the aesthetic. It's tiny. But I put it higher than I actually would have for the end. Because I just think nobody but Bela could deliver that line. And when a role could not physically exist without a certain actor, that's when you know they're a good actor. And good actor can mean a lot of things. Good actor can mean like they, chameleon shapeshift into the role. Good actor can mean that they have created a stage presence for themselves. And even if it's the same, it's, a unique persona. I think Bela, honestly, was lucky to create both. But whether or not people were paying attention to realize that is a different question. But this is one of those ones where it's like, his persona, nobody else can take this from me. And I really like seeing that. Okay, number 22. The Ape Man. Now, I remember I was reading in that Mank book, and I've seen lots of people talk about this. Probably because fans hear an opinion from an esteemed critic or reviewer or historian who often are in the same circles, and they decide, yeah, that's what I think. And then they parrot that opinion across the whole internet to the point where it becomes generic. I don't really get the criticism. Now, as I said at the start of this, if I include this in the cut, Sam Katzman said that his Monogram B movies were more on pictures. Well, the horror movies were. A lot of people be like, oh, Katzman just wanted to degrade former A-list actors. Okay. Where's your evidence of that? Where's your evidence of that? Because although this is a chaotic role, and a role that a lot of actors would have considered beneath them, I don't actually think it's that bad.
What a mess I made of things. Look.
So I think, honestly, the makeup is quite good. I think Bela's character has a purpose. As chaotic as why he ended up being an ape man is, you can see the tragedy, you can see the rage, and you can see the slow descent into arrogant madness. I like the dynamic with the sister. I think that's more interesting than...
Oh, please, James, something will...
Oh, leave me alone! Go on, get upstairs. I want to think. Get out, or...
Oh, all right, James.
It's not like more interesting, but you see like the male colleague, you see the love interest, you see the child. Very rarely have you seen a man and his sister, and I think that's really cool. Yeah, I don't think it's very interesting overall, considering the plot. But I have to say, for a role that could be painfully one note, he made it something else. He embodied it with pathos to an extent, and he made him horrible to an extent. And I think, it's a little forgettable, but it was certainly serviceable, and I think Bela was strong, and much stronger than he is in some other Monogram pictures. I also enjoy at the end when the guy rolls up the car window and it says the end.
Screwy idea, wasn't it?
Ooh, okay, number 21, which is one of my favorite films at the moment, and I know I will watch it again and be like, what was I thinking? But Postal Inspector with Ricardo Cortez. I apparently watched this a year and a half ago, and I left a review that singing should be banned. However, now I'm more mature and exposed to cringe by watching the open stage every Thursday. I actually have no issues with this film. I think it's fun. I think it is low budget. I think the plot is crazy. But I find it really interesting because it did make me wonder, yeah, what were post officers up to in the 1930s America? You know, it's like one of those forgotten trades that you don't know about. So I actually quite, as much as other people make fun of it for this, I enjoyed this like world where this is what they do behind the scenes and how they help the little guy. Ricardo Cortez is likable. He does always look like he's murdered somebody, but he's likable and he's handsome and he's good at what he does. The female lead was really good. The brother was bizarre and also a stalker, and I don't understand how she didn't be like, right. But yeah, and Hattie McDaniel was so cute. She was lovely in it. But Béla is just great. Like, Béla is fun. Béla, again, gets to show a character that, you know, again, fluency in English. It shows fluency in personality. Like, he's a bit of a skeezy, like, opportunist. He kind of might have a thing for her. He has a thing for money. Then he's, like, fearful. He's getting caught. He's being sly. He's playing both sides. And then he's, like, you know, in a panicked, like, run for his life. And he's drowning. And it's, like, it's so... just
who financed many nightclubs, was questioned by the police and later released. Carter. What's that got to do with you? I owe Carter $50,000. I'm 2 months behind. That's a delicate way of telling me.
As the film goes on, his character becomes more and more just like, okay, he's here doing this, doing that, doing the other. But I think the scene at the airport when they arrive is just so mad to think that that's Bela Lugosi. Do you know what I mean? And the scene where the brothers are talking about him, he just walks past with a smirk, and I think he leans in and gets his coffee or whatever. Peak. All-American Bela, all-American cad Bela. It's so bizarre, but it works in its own weird little way, and I really, really enjoy it.
What's he doing with Finesse?
He's going to sing at his club.
That's too bad.
Why? What's the matter with it?
Well, the place is all right, but that Finesse fellow. Pardon me, gentlemen.
Oh, not at all.
We are in the top 20, and it is nearly 3:30. Glen or Glenda. I will make a video about Glen or Glenda because it is too special. And you're going to laugh at me for saying that. It is too special to condense. I honestly think if Glen or Glenda was released in the 70s and David Lynch put his name on it, we would have different feelings. There are very chaotic things in it, but this is what I mean when there's an element of trust and the narrative around the director. Because if Scorsese delivered something with this, like, you know, which he has done, Wolf of Wall Street, with a long monologue, or like Lynch with scenes of kind of, you know, ambient atmosphere, people would get it. And they would be like, thank you for challenging me. But then Ed did it and people were like, it's lazy, it's using stock footage. What's this guy rambling about? Like, only issues of gender and identity and your life and the freedom to live your life that still are being debated in Congress, in parliaments, in court commissions, in family homes, in workplaces every day. Thanks to the Tories, like, insane, you know, newspaper culture war campaign. But, you know, these people are real. Like, people... I just think it's bizarre. And, like, the idea that people had compassionate curiosity, you know, I think after 70 years, unfortunately, people don't have compassionate curiosity anymore. Some do. But I think this was so beautiful, and it gives me hope for a better world. But anyway, to have Bela in it, and in such a fun role, even if Bela was sitting on the toilet and throwing his lines out on cue cards, the fact he was part of it, the fact he canonically on film gives permission for a trans woman's old self to die and her new life to begin. I feel a lot of people who review this are cis men who do not know very many trans people, so it is very hard for them to understand what that looks like. But knowing so many, or looks like and feels like, and to have that emotional connection to it, but knowing so many trans people and being a non-binary person myself who I have a very complex view on my own understanding of who I am. And in many ways, drag was a way for me to step into my comfortable female self. I really get it, and I resonate with it, and I think it's beautiful, and I think Bela plays it really well. I think the role of the god character and the creator is so off the wall and really well written, and he sinks his teeth into it. And again, nobody else but Bela could do that. Nobody else but Bela could shout snips and snails and puppy dog tails and poreless string and all the shit. Like, nobody else could do it. Nobody else could make it convincing. Nobody else could sit there with a straight face and make you believe that this is the word of God, biblical Talmud word of God, and you must obey in this new progressive way. I think it's so fascinating, and I think it's really fun. And even if you don't take it as seriously as I do and you see it all as silly, I mean, it's camp. The intensity and ferocity of the way Bela delivers it and commits to his role, it's kind of, it's half serious and convincing and half isn't life silly. And he's in on it. Like, he gets it. You know, this isn't someone who's being tricked into giving that performance. He knows what he's doing with that performance, and he gives a nice mix of himself and some weird otherworldly being.
But what of the others? Less fortunate glens, the world over. Oh, snips and snails and puppy dog tail.
Number 19, the Black Camel. The Black Camel's a bit dry. It's also a bit problematic because of obviously Warner Oland in Charlie Chan, and Bela's wearing a turban for reasons that are unclear. However, I really think the plot is quite interesting. The twist is quite interesting. There are some really cool moments with Bela. The crystal ball and the way it's illuminating his face, beautiful. He is very young and handsome in much of this movie. And I really like the dynamic with Warner Oland, especially the scene where they're driving and he says, you know, after Charlie has hit like a pothole and nearly veered off the road 5 times, he just turns to him and says, "Have you been driving long?" And the way Bela delivers it, like, of course this man knew English. Like, this is funny. Like, he understood what he was supposed to do. And I just think it's really cool to see him play it. I really like that. Well, even if it's kind of subtle, if it's a bit nothing, I really enjoyed seeing him do it. Number 18. Invisible Ghost. Invisible Ghost is one of those ones I remember watching and really being fascinated with it, and I watched it over and over, and I think now I just can't watch it because I don't get it. I also think there's so many times that they do this. Lots of films from different filmmakers, right? Obviously somebody was like, oh, in Dracula it's really effective when they zoom in on his face and his eyes are glowing. What if we just zoomed in on his face all the time, regardless of what he looks like? You know, no makeup and no pin lights. So in this film, you get a lot of shots of Bela very heavy in the camera, mugging, and I'm just like, it is threatening and it's repulsive, but I'm also like, I mean, it's repulsive in the sense like, it makes me feel like this old man's gonna come kiss me. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but you know, it still works. I enjoy Bela in this, and although his character again gets to just play it straight most of the time, hanging out with his buddy Clarence Muse, who I adore. Really like Clarence. Broken Strings, is that the name of the film I'm thinking of? Is really good, and obviously he's in White Zombie, and I love White Zombie. But yeah, Bela's so nice, and I think Polly Ann Young's the wife. Whoever plays their daughter is really good as an actress as well, and I like the intrigue. I like, oh, her boyfriend like had a bit of a wild past and slept with the maid, and the maid's going to expose him and all that stuff. I wish they had kind of made it more noir-esque. But such is the nature of the time it was made. You know, actually, I think that's interesting I said that, because that actor is in Stranger on the Third Floor, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, which is the first noir film in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think Bela is good. It's very straight. I think the scenes where he has the seizures come over him, he plays it perfectly. It's like the nice balance of like Bela theatrics, but also like, this is how it must look and feel when you're losing your mind. The end. I don't know, like, this is what I mean when he does that thing. This is similar to what he does in Plan 9 that I talked about, you know, covers his face or whatever. He gets me, you know, there's something about him really. I believe his acting covered up a lot of his suffering, and I sometimes think his suffering came through in his acting as much as he made it part of the acting rather than a natural reaction. It's still very real. Like, that man knew what it felt like to suffer. And I feel like when he channels a little flicker of that, it's extremely powerful. And he's smart enough to channel a flicker rather than expose all his demons on screen. Number 17, The Wolfman. Speaking of men who overload their pathos, I mean, Cheney Jr. is the blueprint of how a man with like real tragedy spills it into a performance, and he's so good at it. But there was a blueprint even within the film itself. Bela as Bela the Gypsy. Forgive me for saying that, but that is what his name is. So good. I was shook. Like, he was in for about 2.7 minutes of screen time. And I always remember him in The Wolfman. I don't think of it as a bit part. I don't think of it like the other films where it's like, oh yeah, Bela was there. He lingers, and I think it's the way, thanks to the film's editing, you know, scenes of him pop up later in Larry's flashbacks, and Mileva keeps his spirit alive. But he really did something there. Shockingly, like, intense. And yeah, like, people say, oh yeah, of course it's intense, it's Bela, like, he's so hammy and blah blah blah. But like, the way, again, his voice, the way his voice breaks on "go quickly" when he's talking to Jenny haunts me. The tears in his eyes haunts me. The look of resigned acceptance and sort of like satisfaction in the confirmation when he looks at the pentagram in her hand and then is like, I'm going to swallow it down and I'm going to try and fight the blood that is boiling within me that you can see is causing him to sweat and feel uncomfortable. He's so good.
No. Now go away. Go quickly.
He's so good, and he set like the prototype of what we understand men suffering with that curse feel like, which Larry again was able to flesh out. And I just think it's very strong. And I don't think we talk enough about it. Number 16, Bowery at Midnight. This has shaken me. I do not remember this film being this good, but I finally found a print where I can see what's going on. I swear, half the reason these people hate monogram pictures is because they can't see what's going on. They're fine if you can actually figure out what's happening, because the print isn't, dipped in sewage. Got a really good print, understood it. Still chaotic. Don't really know why the zombies were buried as a lead. Then revived at the end. Then one of the guys that is a zombie miraculously alive and reunited with his fiancée. And I think the joke is that she's mindlessly responding to him yes to everything like a zombie.
Kids, 3 boys and 3 girls.
Yes, Richard.
Come here. Can't you do anything besides say, yes, Richard?
Yes, Richard.
Could have done without that. But yeah, we have actual convicted murderer Tom Neal in this film as well. Beautiful. Béla is so good. He has a wife. He has a backstory. He has nightmares. He has, to put on a false front that he's a good guy. But
To remind you of my love.
Oh. They are beautiful.
Just like you, my dear.
he is like he is psychotic evil. And I kind of am like, I feel like I wanted more of his character. And like, is he really psychotic evil, or did it become like, is it a commentary on how a man from good standing feels like he's able to behave when he's no longer surrounded by, the familiarities of his enriched environment? I don't really know what else to say about it, except watch it and get a good turn, because it is a roller coaster ride. Broad-minded. Number 15. Never in my life. Between this and Mother Riley, shocked me to my core. And it made me swallow, some bitter pills, because although I don't find this funny, Joey Brown kind of looks like a snake. Or some other, bizarre lizard-like creature who will swallow me whole with the size of his mouth. Not in a fun way. In a terrible way. He's kind of scary. As much as I like him in Comedy of Terrors, for nostalgia reasons, no. Misogynistic as insufferable. The Baby Party should be banned. It's not quite as bad as I remember. It's not quite as sexual, but not good. Shouldn't have been there. Racist, yep. For no reason. Boring, yep. But Béla is an oasis in the desert. Him and Thelma Todd, oh my goodness. They are so good.
Oh, Pancho. Won't you forgive your little Gertie?
I don't know.
Please.
They are pros. They have brilliant chemistry together. And it makes me so angry, because it makes me think Béla could have been an A-lister. And while I'm glad he went into the freak show, he could have been a real one. He could wear a suit like no one else. He could play it painfully deadpan straight.
Hey! Look.
Oh, it's Sandra.
And he could be romantic. And this film, if you really want to see the range of Béla, please watch this film, because it plays on a little bit of his tropiness, but in a fun way. He's in on it. He's Latin, even though he's not. And he gets to be a good guy, fundamentally. And I just really am happy that in spite of everything else wrong with the film, those scenes with Béla at his best will always live in my mind.
Look what you've done!
done to my strawberry shortcake?
This is a laughing matter at this point. Black dragons. Black dragons. Look. Again. Maybe it was the bias of rewatching it and expecting literal human centipede excrement and finding an okay film. It's chaos. Like, there's no way that any of it makes sense, really, at all. Racist again. But crazy. Like, you will never guess the plot twist that's coming. And when you see it, you're still like, what's just happened? Mad. Literally mad. Yeah. Mad. I really enjoy Béla here, though. I think he's so on the ball. He's so charmingly evil. I love the dynamic with the niece, who turns out to be an FBI agent, who is flirting with him, and he's like, yes, but no.
From abroad. Some kind of international meeting, I believe.
Are we going to have the pleasure of your company very long?
It depends on circumstances.
You sound like a man of destiny.
One must not flirt with one's destiny.
With the world in the condition it is today, aren't we all flirting with destiny?
When a young woman's nerves commenced to give way, it is time she sought refuge in a strong man's arms.
I just ran into yours.
Mine might be dangerous.
There's something so Bogart about that, like in one scene. And I just think it was really fun to see him be desired by somebody, because you don't really see that very often. And even though I think it was for her to try and get information, which is poorly explained, there's something about this role and like the utter mercilessness, and I feel like his physicality felt convincing here, like he could really choke someone out. I just liked seeing it. Maybe if I watched it again a few more times, I would be like, that was a mistake. But as of today, at 3:44 a.m., I'm putting it on record that I think Black Dragons is a fun movie, and Béla, honestly, one of his best, if not his best monogram performance. But it's not, and we'll get to that. Ghost of Frankenstein, number 13. Lucky number 13. I just put this lower because I don't think Igor's is interesting without his prosthetics. And I think the film in general is just lackluster compared to Son of Frankenstein, obviously. But I think Igor has some real shining moments. Like, he has his camp revelry in his perverseness and his criminality. But he has a fatality here and a real, like, pathetic love that I don't think they really went far enough with in the first film. Like, Igor's motivations, to me, are still kind of... You could read them both ways. You know, yes, he's an opportunist out on the make, but does he also actually care for the monster? Or is he just using the monster because he sees it as an easily manipulatable creature? But then I don't really understand. Yes, of course, he has the plot to switch the brains, but I don't really think... There's no need for Igor to talk to the monster the way he does when he says, tonight I die for you. Igor dies for you. You're my friend. Like, and be so desperate and to be so coolly rebuffed. Like, I don't know if the implication that the monster is supposed to see through him, or the monster doesn't care because he wants his new friend of the little girl. But it's so, like... And better dead than a life like this. I do wonder if sometimes Béla was being a bit prophetic, and it's a little intense to watch. I don't know if that clouds my judgment, but I also think he is just very strong. And Igor is the closest thing he came, honestly, to having a real baby. The way Lon Chaney Jr. talks about the Wolfman as his baby, Igor should have been that for Béla, in a way that I don't think Dracula could have been. But here we are. Number 12. Some of you are watching this with increasing anxiety because you know which films I've left out and you know what must be next. Number 12, Bride of the Monster. Again, it's not as bad as people remember. And part of the reason for that is Bela. Bela sells every second that he's on screen. And the fact that this is like his last major film role ever, come on. Like, Mans was beating addiction, Mans was beating divorce, and he still looks through this, like, obviously not glass, at these lights, and like really studies this octopus that isn't there. You know? And the home, I have no home speech. It's cinematic iconhood, you know? It's not even that good. I don't even think it's like the best monologue he's delivered out. I don't even think it's the best. You know, it could have been, even if the script shit, but it's so real. And it's so like, people will criticize him for this. And I understand that it's the same cadence, it's the same beats, it's the same way of delivering the same kind of speech for 25 years straight. But, like, that's a brand, honey. Like, the way he enunciates everything, like, I am all right. Like, you've heard that speech 700 times before, but you haven't. And every time it's, like, the thrill of seeing someone verbally grasp and, like, embrace. Oh, God, my nail fell off. Ah! Verbal equivalent of a man grasping someone with both hands and fucking Frenching them in the mouth in the most beautiful, passionate kiss. That's how he treats dialogue. And I think that's just so endlessly enjoyable to watch.
When did I tell you my name?
You didn't. But since you were unconscious, I took the liberty looking into your purse.
Number 11, problematic. Chandu the Magician. Edmund Lowe, once again, he will never leave, despite my pleas. I love it here. It is problematic. You know, there's a lot of Eastern mysticism done by the white man, and Roxor's nationality is kind of unclear. But yeah, I just think it's this is what I just said. It's like the Bride of the Monster speech, but 30 years earlier. Like, Bela is so fun when he's like this. I don't think there's as much acting range required to play Roxor as, say, Benet or even the Ape Man. But he is so fun. Like, Roxor lives in my mind rent-free. The speech he does at the end when he imagines the various capital cities and monuments getting destroyed by his death ray lives in my mind.
City of fools, proud of their Napoleon. What will they think when they feel the power of Roxor? In England, its sacred tradition, its king, its triumph, its navy, will be helpless. They shall bow before me in worship. Me, Roxor.
And I really wish he had, I mean, she quit movies, so it wasn't possible, but I wish he had somehow done more movies with Irene Ware, because I love them together. I just think visually they look so good together, and they have this really interesting chemistry, and they're both very good. I like her a lot as an actress, so I would like to see them together more, because the scenes that they have together in this are just the best scenes in the film, in my opinion.
The greatest floods in the biblical deluge.
So, unless my people will join in making you a modern pharaoh, you will annihilate them.
Pharaoh. I shall be greater than any pharaoh.
Civilization and all its works shall be destroyed. Men shall return to savagery, knowing only one supreme intelligence. Me.
And it's a fun romp. It is a fun romp of a film. You've not escaped monogram. Voodoo Man. I honestly think I might put this higher. I think I might put this at number 9. It is slow. It is flawed. It is crazy. It has bizarre made-up voodoo magic, practiced again by bizarre white men. However, Béla embodies all this ludicrous pantomime with a heart and a soul. The scenes with him and his wife, you really believe he is looking through this like veil of death and eternity to like catch her and return her to him. And the fact that you believe him and the fact that he believes in it himself, like, what other actor could do that as convincingly? Very.
How did I?
You are alive again.
How did I get here?
I have brought you back to me, my darling. Now we're together again.
It makes you think the film is better than it is because he gives so much care to the performance, even with the cliches, even with the bad dialogue. You know, there's moments where I think he's too threatening, obviously, with other characters and stuff. But it's like, he has a singular point. He's gone, and I really feel like he's gone crazy by grief. There's some line where it says, like, you know, there's the portrait of his wife, and he mentions, like, how long ago she's been, like, dead or whatever, and it's just like, oh, this man is gone, you know? And I feel there's few times, maybe it's because I'm analysing it so closely, but there's few times you really get a sense that somebody has taken their character that seriously in the old Hollywood days, the way Béla has here. I might tie these at number 8 because they are so uncomparable, but they're both very good. So number 9, yeah, The Devil Bat and Mystery of the Marie Celeste, aka Phantom Ship. I'm a sucker for Béla being depressed, is my first note. Yes, it is really good. He is really, at the start, especially humanistic and kind of natural in a way that wasn't of its time. And the pain and the bitterness and something, like, you can almost smell like the gin off his breath through the screen.
Handsome, Anson. We'd own this place together. You'd had a packet of money in the bank by now.
That. Let me sleep there. That's all I want. Please.
Like, he just looks the part, he's giving the right energy. It's very, you know, atmospheric, the lighting and stuff, and I'm just so mad that a lot of the film was lost. So, like, there's about 20 minutes, I'd say, of lost footage. Yeah. And that would explain his character arc, because I never knew if he was faking that he actually was remorseful and believed in God, or if, you know, if that was a cover, or if he really believed those things. And at the end, like, there's badly overdubbed dialogue and shit, and it just kind of, he just goes crazy. And yeah, we know he had to have his vengeance mission, but I need to know if the vengeance mission is like him under so much stress he can't help but have vengeance, or that he planned it the whole time. I need to know. And the film doesn't make it clear. So that's disappointing. I think for that, I'll maybe put it 9 and put Devil Bad 8. But I think the flaw is that nobody in the 30s wanted to see Bela Lugosi give this really deep, bizarre performance. I don't think we ever got something quite like it again. But I think it was a testimony to what Béla could do and how he should have been given more dramatic roles where there was no clownery and potential witchcraft, where he was just allowed to be a dramatic hero, like a father losing his child or losing his long lost love or something like Carrie with Laurence Olivier. But Béla, would eat. Just saying. And on the topic of things to eat, number 8, the devil bat. Ate, and ate again. The more I rewatch it, the more I see the things. But Béla is just so bizarre, but so good. That scene where it dollies in on him and he's thinking about the amount of money they made and he looks kind of like disbelieving and betrayed, and then smirks and just throws his head back. He just smirks and throws his head back like it doesn't matter.
Dollars and wanted you to come down to their house and thank them for it. That was your money they gave you, like a bone tossed to a faithful dog.
That's what cinema's about, baby. That's why cinema was invented. That's why it was invented. I have no apologies for that. I think there's just problems with the script, the way he's characterized and stuff. But he pioneers yet another stereotype. And the way that he shakes hands with the guys that he's put the lotion on and says, "Goodbye, Paul." And none of them noticed that he said it in the most "you are fated to be dead" voice of all time. Did they just not notice? I just think it's so funny.
For you. Thanks.
Good night, Doctor.
Goodbye, Roy.
I think it's so funny. And it's iconic. It's iconic. What more do you want?
A period of antiquity commonly called the Stone Age.
Imbecile. Bombastic ignoramus.
And number 7. This shocked me. And I was very tempted to put this even higher, but the top 10 are very close, iconic performances, in my opinion, especially the top 6 from here. But number 7 is Return of the Vampire. I forgot how good this was. I seriously forgot how good this movie was and how good Béla's performance is. It has a lot to do. He has to give he has to give charm, he has to give menace, he has to give moderation and convincing gentlemanliness. He does it all so well. I think Tesla is what they maybe based some of the Hammer Draculas on, and certainly other more urban Draculas and vampires.
You learned who I am. How great must be your satisfaction to realize how well you cured him.
There is good in Andrea's soul. Good that I have placed there, and which even you cannot destroy, Amon Tesla.
What a fool you are. With all your scientific knowledge, you have achieved nothing. You are too late to stop what I have set out to do. I have waited for this moment for a long time. Tonight, I will take Nikki away. Her soul will wander through the night, and you will never find where her body rests. And then, in another form, she will come back for John.
I don't know. This film is just so special. It feels so ahead of its time, and I feel like so much of its ideas are still unique and beautiful, or they've been ripped off. And it's just brilliant. It's brilliant. I think he does a really, really good job luring Nina Foch and his death scene. Come on. It feels real. It feels like he's desperate. He feels like, I mean, he was very tired in real life, but he feels, you see, this element to him that I wish was in more roles. It's the humanness, which is maybe the wrong thing to say for a vampire character. But anyway, I'm tired, and I will change the subject. Top 6. I would like to do an honourable mention. Suspense Theatre's production of The Cask of Amontillado, which I believe is from 1947, or it could be 1948, or it could be 1949. is a TV play starring Bela Lugosi, and it updates the setting of the famous Casca of Amontillado short story to fascist Italy. And I don't want to spoil the rest for you, because it is one of the most interesting updated versions of a Poe story, and the most interesting versions of Poe story I have ever seen. And Bela is so fantastic and so brutally evil and so convincing. This is what makes me wish I could have seen more stage plays, and this is what makes me believe that he wasn't lying, because when he's on the ball and instinctual and replying and giving a tight, narrowed down performance, you would not want to go up against him. I'm just saying. Murders in the Rue Morgue. Honestly, I'm getting the chills thinking about it. You can't deny it. You know, think what you want about the film. Think what you want about the dialogue. Think what you want about Bela and the acting. It's OTT. What did you want? A character who tells a crowd of strangers to burn him at the stake because he will not change his beliefs, who talks to his pet gorilla and doesn't get laid, and makes scientific experiments out of prostitutes' blood. What way did you think he was going to interact?
Then burn me, monsieur. Light the fire. Do you think your little candle will outshine the flame of truth? Do you think these boards and curtains are my whole life? They are only a trap to catch the pennies of fools. My life is consecrated to great experiment. I tell you, I will prove your kinship with the ape.
So how are you surprised that he's crazy? And this is where I go into Bela, and I think this is an element as well that's shot well. It gets the gleam in his eyes, the glitter. Nobody can do it like Bela. Nobody else could do this like Bela. As much as I hate to say it, you know, the glazed eyes of genius with the instinct of madness, the desire to corrupt, reveling in the knowledge he is using. Reveling in his knowledge, but also the knowledge that he's using it for his own perverted means. It is a character bigger and bolder than the restraints of the universe. But Bela brought that to him, even if the setting for it is not good enough to facilitate what that character could be. It's nearly 4:20. Oh, blaze it. We're 5. Son of Frankenstein. I literally just wrote, I don't need to rewatch this. It's in this position because it's the best. Mad. I honestly am now thinking, this is so hard, because then you get into the question of how do you rank a performance, because what is the best, what is the favorite, what is the most skilled as an actor? I think honestly, if I'm being honest, in my heart of hearts, Igor is probably top 3. Igor is a hard performance to do, and to do it like Bela, priceless. Bela knew that this was going to be an opportunity, and he sees it with both hands, and it is a shame that they didn't give him more roles like this, or give Igor better characterizations later on. What can you say? You just watch the film, and despite, the genius of Lionel Atwill, the dominance of what I would consider hammy Basil Rathbone, as enjoyable as it is, Karloff himself, Bela is the moment. The scene, the little ticks he does, the little tap in the neck, the little cough spit, the little intricate movements that, yes, I think it is, he has a good director. You can tell when Bela has a good director and when he doesn't. But Igor is just that guy, I think it's so beautiful and fascinating. The way his eyes move, the way he he commits to the physical deformity, but without making it so obvious. It just looks like a man who, yeah, my neck was broke, now I walk around. It's not like, look at me, I am hunchback, or whatever. You know, it's so, without even thinking, natural in a way, but also like so unhinged and deranged, and very like a strong actor on the screen, a strong character on the screen. But that's what I mean. You feel like it's a strong character more so, I would say, than you feel like it's a strong actor. Like, Bela's brilliant, but like you feel like Igor's a real person, and I think that skill is absolutely insane. And I would say that White Zombie and Dracula are the 3 times he fully achieved that to perfection.
My name is Igor. Let me go, Frankenstein.
I'm going to turn you over to Inspector Krog.
No! Not give me the Krog.
Why?
Krog, not one dead man. Igor is dead.
What are you talking about?
You see that? They hanged me once, Frankenstein. They broke my neck. They said I was dead. Then they cut me down.
Hanged you? Oh. Why did they hang you?
Because I stole bodies. They said.
Yes. Well, what are you doing here?
They threw me in here long ago. They wouldn't bury me in holy place like churchyard because I stole bodies. They said, so Igor is dead. You, Doctor Frankenstein, like your father, eh?
Yes. But I can't mend a broken neck.
Nobody can mend Igor's neck. It's all right.
The Raven. Or it's number 4, technically, isn't it? Bruh. I don't know anymore. Some call it ham. I call it meaty, juicy goodness. What do you want? What do you want from the role? Like, you've seen what the film's about. You see the script. What way did you want somebody to play it? And Bela plays it with his heart and soul. Honestly, if it wasn't for this scene where he looked, and it's like less than 2 seconds, when they're playing like the fake horse racing, and Jerry is messing with Jean, and she said, oh, don't, she's giggling and flirting, and Bela looks, and he has this look of like total aghast horror that he pulls together in a second and turns around with a smile. I don't know if it's just because it's me, because like I've been that person that's seen the person that you're crushing on interact with somebody, and you're like, oh, I'm so on the outside, and it destroys you in that moment, and then you know, just have to move on. I don't know if that's why I resonate so much, but I just think it's like, yeah, no, moments like that are like, this is not a one-note performance. It's dramatic, and it's very obvious what he's doing at times, but oof, there are moments of subtlety that allow the performance to crescendo and then explode. And then he becomes so beautifully unhinged. Like, the Poe, you are avenged with the gun and everything. Like, it's so...
Delicious torture, Bateman. Greater than Poe. Poe only conceived it. I have done it, Bateman. Poe, you're avenged.
I couldn't watch it because it's so cringe. But it's cringe because it's unsettling, because it's like, oh, I really feel like this person is just losing it, and like, it's so much, I don't want to watch it. Which is kind of what someone going completely crazy is like, dependent on the person, you know. And like, the laugh into like the sneer, but like he's focusing the gun on Bateman, so enough of his brain is still there in the moment to try and keep command of the situation. It's good. It is good. I still think his reading of The Raven is a bit chaotic. But, Mind If I Smoke? Every part of it, you are enamored by him, disgusted by him, fascinated by him. It's the one. What can I say? It's the one. Finally, our top 3. These 3, I wouldn't even rank them. I have to include them as like a joint first, because there's something so unique and special about every single one, and that is a testimony to Bela, you know. First, we're going to talk about White Zombie. White Zombie is a masterclass in the level of restraint Bela is able to have. I have never seen him in a role like White Zombie. I don't know if it's because of the script, because he doesn't have loads of lines. I don't know if it's the direction. I don't know if it's the mood he was in, but there's something so fascinating and truly hypnotic about him, but not in the way that Dracula is. He feels like his own separate entity. And he is kind of very normal in a weird sense. Like, his dialogue and his cadence is much more accessible than Dracula, and he's a man with his own, agendas, and very calmly collecting his revenge.
The Interior. Garcia, Brigand Chief. Marquis, Captain of Gendarmerie. And this is Chauvin, the High Executioner, who almost executed me. I took them, just as we will take this one. But what if they regain their souls? They would tear me to pieces. And that, my friend, shall never be.
With no remorse, no concern, just calmly going about his business and collecting his revenge. And amazing. And the way they shoot him, the way they shoot his eyes, the way they shoot his face, the way they shoot his little smirks. This is the Bela Lugosi experience, almost in a way that is more the true Bela Lugosi experience than Dracula. And it's just so infinitely satisfying. The only reason I can't give it number 1 is because the goofy way he falls when he's hit over the head. The next film, so technically number 2, Dracula. That was a Freudian slip. I'm going to be very controversial. I'm going to change my ranking because Drunk Mind Speaks Sober Thoughts, and I said Dracula for number 2, so we're going to go. Dracula is this is why I basically said from the start it should be number 1, because it is the cultural, marker of a new age of horror. It is the modern blueprint of horror. It is so important. And even if the film drags and there's problems with it, and there's unintentional hilarity in certain lines and different things, you can't even begin to think of Dracula as anybody else.
I am Dracula.
It's Bela's role through and through. And yes, there's years of stage work and a good script, good play, and good direction that allowed him to create that. That's years of honing your craft, and that's a perfect role and a perfect performance in that role. It speaks for itself. I don't need to analyze it. I don't need to go into bit by bit of that little smile means this, that look in the eye means this, that moment of, there's little moments of just so obvious cold manipulation, and yet a sort of yearning charm and a interest, like a fascinated enthusiasm sometimes in his expression for humans.
Excellent. And now, if you're not too fatigued, I would like to discuss the lease on Carfax Abbey.
Oh, yes. Everything is in order, awaiting your signature.
I think he gives Dracula actually more than sometimes what even the scene allows, which is why it is so special. I think why it has stayed longer than a tropey, one-dimensional performance would.
Children of the night. What music they make.
However, I'm so biased because this is my favourite film, but The Black Cat has to be number one. Because as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, Dracula is amazing, but he had all the prep. What's the role that he could have no benchmark for, that has never been seen before, that was so totally unique and bizarre, he had to approach it completely off the dome. And that is Vidas Vertigast. But this is what I mean. When I say Vidas Vertigast, I feel like he is a real person. I feel like he is a bizarre but real person. You know, it's very Bela, but it's not just Bela in a movie. This is the way Vitas plays. This is, and I have seen it so many times, I know that that is clouding my judgment, but this is Vitas. You know, someone who has like severe madness that you know is always on the verge of causing like extreme threat and violence to even to innocence, but is so like, it's the moral struggle of good versus evil, of man's base instincts versus his attempts to be civilized, if you believe in that nonsense. You know, it's such a fascinating dynamic, captured so, even in his physical presence by Bela and the way he stands and things. And like, yes, Bela moves awkwardly all the time, but there's something so, I think, intentional in it. And I would be interested in seeing the script the way it was originally intended, with Vitas being much more nefarious. But the way it is so complex and tortured and interesting. It implies everything that the original script suggests. It shows that that could be an alternative timeline for this man. But he's using every last fibre of will to try and stay on a path that isn't that. And it's just...
Dead. And why is she like this? About the accident, Lieutenant. Dear child, be brave. No matter how hopeless it all seems.
Did you ever see an animal skin, Hjalmar? That's what I'm going to do to you now. Tear the skin from your body. Slowly. Bit by bit.
I think it is a blessing of the script, of Edgar J. Ulmer, of the circumstance, of the time. But again, Bela could have phoned it in. He could have not got the mark. But he got the marks and he elevated it into his own thing. And I feel is like the most interesting anti-hero or horror protagonist, depending on how far you want to take the interpretation one way or the other, potentially of all time, but certainly of the decade. And you think a man who couldn't act his way out of a paper bag could leave that kind of character behind? No.
It's the red switch, isn't it, Hjalmar? The red switch ignites the dynamite. "5 minutes. Marmaris, you and I, and your rotten cud will be no more." It has been
hate that I've had to record this with my headset on because it makes my wig look This is camp. This is ridiculous. Look at this. This is so silly. Look at the state of this. I hope you have enjoyed this rundown with me for Bela's birthday. And before the wax destroys my skin, let's wish him a happy 141st and many more to come together. And that's the point of this, is that regardless of how you view Bela, regardless of what you personally enjoy watching him in, the fact that we're still talking about him so many years later proves he was a worthwhile actor. And despite being rotten, I think he's rather cute. Don't you? Here's to Bela. Regardless of what you think of his career, which honestly, I think a lot of it would not have happened if he wasn't Hungarian. I genuinely wonder if the men who talk about his films, because it is usually men, actually know very many Hungarian people in real life. Because yes, the accent can be difficult, but I mean, if you're used to it, hearing it often enough, it's not going to be a problem. And I mean, I personally relate to Bela because I think people, when I studied in Birmingham, treated me differently. Not everybody, but some people treated me differently because of my accent. I was told in school if I wanted to cope, I needed to learn how to speak properly. And my tutor, who, you know, he was an alcoholic waster pedo, so I don't really know why I cared what he thought, but he did say, "Oh, do you have running water over there?" Because I was so confused as to what hard water meant, because we have nice water generally in Northern Ireland. I feel like sometimes the way people talked about him and the way people perceive him even to this day is because they genuinely just cannot decipher the accent, or they think because the accent is not familiar, it makes them unhappy or uncomfortable on levels that they can't articulate very clearly. So, that's just my 2 cents. But despite the xenophobia, despite the lack of opportunities, despite the decades since his stardom, Bela is still here. And in my opinion, long may that continue. So hi guys, I'm still editing this, nearly a week later. Do not attempt to make a 2-hour long 180 resolution video on a laptop that has like 10 gigabytes left, or a phone that has 10 gigabytes left. But we're figuring it out. I still haven't eaten the cake. And it's probably rotted. But I am rotted, so I'll still eat it. I just want to say thank you for watching and being on that journey of chaos with me. Even though I'm looking at it, I'm like, I really should have ranked that differently. But I did put a lot of thought and effort into it. Like, I really did. I spent a lot of hours like debating those positions. And sometimes the vibes are just the vibes. So, that's my excuse. I just wanted to, I just wanted to ask, like, what you, So yeah, I just wanted to say, please let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for future videos. It can be about drag, it can be about old Hollywood, it can be about specifically old horror Hollywood. Another actors deep dives, do not dare me to do John Carradine's, because I will try and then I will truly be dead. And the video will be 16 hours long. But yeah, anything like this, anything more, if you do want some deep dives into those films. I'll probably do them anyway, because once I start talking about something I enjoy, I can't stop. And I also just want to give a recommendation. If you like fan vids, there is a really good video called Bela Lugosi Elegia to the song by New Order that I think shows the range of like his acting and the seriousness of his acting pretty well. I will link it, however that works on YouTube. I don't understand how YouTube works. And I think for most of my videos, I'll probably try and shout out another creator. In this case, you know, it's literally me on a different account, but we'll just pretend for the purposes of this video I'm not trying to shamelessly self-promote. Okay, bye!